All right, welcome back, family. We're going to jump right off into it Wednesday night. This is our regular scheduled discussion, and we're looking at world peace, looking at Israel, looking at the United States, and as usual, as before, we're asking, who is the criminal? But we have a lot that we want to talk about, and hopefully, the panel will come on tonight. I invited a few special guests that could speak more specifically about what's transpiring over on that side of the world, because a number of us, we try to depend on the regular media outlets, the modern media outlets for information, and we're not really getting, the truth with with respect to what's going on. So, we try to have, some guests on or people that will be able to share what's happening, on that side of the world. So I thank you all for coming, into the live, and, I'm going to ask that you, as you're coming in, share the live, repost the live. Let's get this thing started. Let's get it, going like we normally do. You say the suit is awesome. Okay. All right. Yeah. We want to introduce individuals to a broader scope in understanding what's happening internationally, as well as nationally, right? Because there are a lot of people, not only across the water, but you have a lot of people right here in the U.S. that just truly don't understand what's happening, from the international and or global perspective. And they're more tied into the rhetoric and the propaganda, and they go about repeating these things as if they're true. And we look to, for the most part, provide information that shows how distorted those, can't call them facts, right? But that rhetoric, we have to show how distorted that rhetoric is, because real people are caught up in, this crossfire or in this conflict. And no one is really able to identify, or will they openly or on the record go to explain for what purpose, intent, and or reason these things are transpiring. But a number of us realize it's another form of colonization. As the UN talks about decolonization, we see different nation states moving into certain territories and unlawfully taking those territories over. And no one rightfully within the international sphere is really stepping up and moving to enforce law against these culprits. So we want to talk about, that. We want to talk about the real families and real people that are impacted by it. So normally, I have folks come up and we try to deal with the conversation from any and all perspectives. Well, tonight, I'm just looking for a particular perspective where we're kind of speaking, to the corruption, being able to identify, this corruption, and looking at the war of ignorance, really and truly, that's happening, across the board, when you have individuals supporting different nation states to go in and overtake another nation state because they want resources, but yet they're doing it in the name of what they would call democracy or freedom. That's what they use, as the shield. Come on, y'all. We know better. We know better than, that. Thank you all for coming into the live, right? Do share the live and repost the live. Do that for me. All right. As we get started, we're just getting started, right here. So, tonight, today, this morning, wherever you are, if you're not able to speak in, all honesty with respect to what's happening across the world or internationally, right? Looking at how is not real, has, we can say, or, it looks as if they've invaded the Palestine, right? And look at what they're doing in Lebanon, okay? With Lebanon, over 1 million people, they're saying within a 2-week period have lost their homes, you guys. This is colonization, and they're using the might of a U.S. military also, for their backing. Brother Mel, thank you for coming, into the live. So we want to talk about these things, you all. We want to try and understand, how does this go unnoticed? Okay. And then not only that, with the U.S. and, this whole thing with Iran, like, I really think it's unfortunate that you have individuals that are trying to promote the fact that Iran is oppressing its own people, and the United States is trying to come in as the liberators, of the people that are being oppressed in Iran. That's just laughable, because the people in the U.S. are being oppressed by the government, and some of you are so credulous. Some of you are ignorant to the fact, and you'll say, who or how? How are they oppressing you? And that's the ignorance you live in. That's the world that you want to accept, because it just makes you feel good, warm and fuzzy, and it supplies your needs. Okay? But there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt, internationally, nationally, and it needs to be called out. It needs to be truly identified. Furthermore, people need to understand what their ultimate remedy is, because we're not powerless, you all. We're just not organized. And that brings me to this point, to where in the U.S., you have government entities, such as the FBI, that have made it criminal to have a conversation such as this. You are then considered, I believe it could be a DT, right? Because you don't support the corruption that they're involved in. You're not interested in promoting, the oppression that's placed upon, I'll say, for in truth, my people, me. Okay? And we've been under the oppression, for hundreds of years. And it's gone on for far too long, even in the name of democracy. And I think it's sad that even to this day, you still got people thinking they can vote their way in and or out of this. They created this system for themselves. They've set up the interest of the government for themselves. And if you come in as a legislator or a representative, if you're not willing to work toward the interest of the government, then you're rendered ineffective, powerless. But if you're going to pursue the interest of the government, then you'll have the ability to do all the things that you want to do. How many times have you guys seen where it's something that needs to be done for the people and they say, oh, those things take time. It just takes time. Everything that the people need just takes time. But anything that's to the interest of agency or government or nation state, they get it done immediately. And they persuade the people that this is to the best interest even of the people. How many times y'all gonna keep falling for the lies? And for some of you, only because it soothes your belly. That's how you look at it. That's how you accept it. And as long as that can continue to flow, you'll support the corruption and the abuse of people, as long as you and yours are fine. That only lasts, for so long. And when it comes to is not real, it's preposterous that they feel as if they're the only people that can say what they want to say. They're very insensitive about anyone and everyone else, but they're very sensitive when it comes to anything that you want to point out with respect to, their unlawfulness. They've even gone about to make it as if they have a monopoly on a term called anti-Semitic. And what's, interesting about that is they're not the only Semitic or Shemitic people in the world, but it appears that they position it as they're the chief leaders of all Semitic, people, and there are no others. If anybody else, wants to be identified as Semitic and then call them out for their corruption, they try to say, oh, you're anti-Semitic, and that doesn't make sense, you all. But this is the type of, madness, and, these are the type of deceptions and lies that we're made to face, today. And so many of you, in the name of your politics, or even in the name of, your religion, as if you're moving about as if you accept and or you approve of these things. Let me take a break with what I'm saying and see who we got, first of all, up here on the stage. Islam? No, is Mabala? Are you talking? If you're talking, you're on mute. You're going to have to take yourself off mute. You're the only one up on the stage. If you're talking. All right, what you want to say? All right, I'm going to let you down. If you want to come back up, you can come back up because I can't hear you. All right. I think it's, it's interesting, how people, even when you're trying to have this conversation, will want to disrupt or, disturb your train of thought, to prevent certain information from coming out. And it's just unfortunate. But as I was speaking, with respect to the U.S. and with respect to Israel and how sensitive, the Israelis are. And, it appears that they really don't share, that same type of sentiment, toward other people. And, if anyone, again, wants to call them out for their corruption, then there's a violation, or you're dealing with misinformation. And I'm just going to say it like this. they need to be re-educated. And all of you that are in support of what the U.S. is doing, with respect to Iran and what they're doing with respect to Lebanon and the Philistines, you all need to be re-educated. And they need to consider, the fact of what anti-Semitism truly is and how even they may be culprits of the thing that they say anyone and everyone else is a part of. Because right now there's a question, a big question, as to who are they? Where did they come from? A number of us have heard the remarks of Nasser, I think it was Gamal Nasser, that president of Egypt, who explained they were a dark-skinned people when they left, but yet they've come back, several shades lighter, understanding how that could be, and they would never be accepted, in the region. And then what transpired, to all the people that seem to, reject their position. Okay? How they use the muscle of the CIA and the MI6, how these agencies are used in covert measures to get things done, and nobody finds out about it until, decades later. An example would be Operation Ajax. That's a great example, because a number of you are still trying to act like that's a irrelevant point as to why Iran has a legitimate gripe against U.S. policies and sanctions, and for the reason that they've always interfered, and how they've interfered, with that people, their heritage, their policies, their government. Come on, think about it. If you are aware of Operation Ajax, then you understand they orchestrated a coup. Now, should that happen to us over here, if anyone was thinking about doing that, you cry holy foul. But yet, to think that it's okay for the U.S. and then this whole thing about nuclear munitions, how many times are they going to run that game? In the 50s, it was communist this, communist that. Today, it's weapons of mass destruction. But in the end, all they're looking to do is get in and colonize, these countries and these people. I want to see if I can get Abu up on the stage. Abu, if you can, go ahead and hit one of the boxes. Let me get you up on the stage. Abu is one of the guests that I wanted to get up in here tonight. Let's see if I can get him on. Yeah, because we need to talk about it, and we need to make certain that people understand. And I invited Abu and some others to come up and hopefully inform you all with respect to what's going on, on that side of the world, unfiltered, unadulterated, and not censored, by mass media and, or, the way that they look to suppress information. Abu, how you doing, brother?
Alhamdulillah, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I know it's real early over there, where you are, like 4 or 5 in the morning. So I really do appreciate you being up and taking the time to have this conversation. And I remember one time before you shared with me that certain people came up on the stage that were not really of the cause. So I'm looking to keep that off the stage today. So should should that happen or should they show up, just let me know and I'll make sure, to move them down as we're looking to have this conversation specifically about what's going on and for others who can attribute, to that. We want to make sure we stay focused and on point. So I want to turn it over
I
to you.
will. I will, inshallah. Thank you for having me, brother, and I will let you know if any of these guys joined, inshallah.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to turn it over to you, real quick, because I've been talking, for a minute, and I can go on about the corruption, but you're very good with delivering the news. So I would tell folks off the jump, make sure you follow Abu if you want to stay abreast with what's going on, with the Palestinians and in Gaza, and hear it firsthand because he is there and he has a daily news dump that he's doing, sharing things that you're not really going to hear on your CNNs, BBCs, NBCs, ABCs, these major media outlets. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Abu, if you will, inform us and let us know of the latest updates and things that we need to be aware of.
Definitely, brother. First of all, I would like to thank you and your viewers for giving me this chance to be here with you today. For those who don't know me, people call me Abu Siraj. I'm a Palestinian living in the Gaza Strip. I'm talking to you right now from Deir el-Balah, which is an area inside the Gaza Strip after being displaced and losing my home due to the Israeli aggression on Gaza. For 2.5 years, I have been trying to report news about what's going on here in Gaza. And after me realizing that a lot of people out there in the West don't actually know exactly what's happening on the ground, because unfortunately, the media is being controlled by the same system and the same colonizers who are trying to oppress us, steal our land, steal our wealth, so that they can fill their pockets, gain more money, while we, the people, suffer. As a result, I have decided to use my English and risk my life, and I have taken it upon myself to report and tell the truth about what's going on, to tell you things that you might not hear on your own media, because your governments, they don't want you to know the truth for sure. They want you to think that we are barbarics, uncivilized. They demonized us in your eyes and dehumanized us to make it easier for them to unalive and take everything they need. That's why a lot of people, when they hear about the atrocities happening here, some of them might not care or feel anything. This is not a normal reaction, but it's an outcome of years of indoctrination and lies being fed to the public abroad. So this is why people like me and other panelists and live creators, we try our best to raise awareness by sharing what we know, and we are only trying to share the truth. So after I just needed to introduce myself for everyone so that you can understand why we do what we do. And now I think that what is crucial for you to know, everyone, is that the Israeli occupation forces were supposed not to be attacking Lebanon, as Lebanon part of the ceasefire agreement conducted between the US and Iran. But unfortunately, after having after Pakistan declared that Lebanon is part of the ceasefire agreement and the ceasefire agreement took place, the US and Israel acted dumb, denied that Lebanon was part of the deal, and the US has given the green light for the Israeli occupation forces to continue attacking Lebanon, which led to the unalivement of hundreds of Lebanese since then. In one day, they carried out an attack on Lebanon, unaliving 350 Lebanese in less than 10 minutes after carrying out more than 100 airstrikes. So when something like this happens live on air, when you see Israeli jets attacking civilian neighborhoods, unaliving people, families, women, and children, you have to ask yourself why this is happening, how they manage to keep it happening, and they always manage to get away with it. It's not fair, definitely not fair. They have done it in Gaza for 2.5 years, and the G-side in Gaza continues here where I am, in which not a single day passes by without them unaliving people, restricting aid, restricting medication, trying to make our lives a living hell in order to push us out of Palestine and continue their ethnic cleansing. The same goes for Lebanon. They are trying to collectively punish the people of Lebanon by forcing 1.2 million people to evacuate and to be forced displaced, and they keep attacking them day and night. The thing is, guys, that when we talk about the Zion entity, we need to remember that we are dealing with a cancer spreading in this region, trying to destroy us, to divide us, trying to hold us back so that they can thrive, so that they can grow, while we get nothing but destruction and chaos. So this is what I have for you know, guys, and if you have any more questions, brother, let me know.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say this, guys. Tap the screen. It doesn't cost you anything, and I'm gonna say if you have gifts and things that you what would normally provide to me, I would ask that you share those gifts with Abu, and show that you appreciate the information that he's bringing out because, like I said, it's firsthand information, and he's there in the thick of it, being able to share and provide that information. So I would ask that you not give any gifts to me tonight, but yet you share those gifts with my guests. And if my other guests come up on the stage, I'll let as well who they are. And I would ask that you support them, as well, as we look to go further into understanding who the criminal, is, and how they're trying to push the blame, and how they have no respect, for the law. And more specifically, what we're looking at, guys, is an ability to create networks internationally that we as people can speak to the corruption and not leave it up to legislators and House representative and heads of state, but for us as the people, understanding truly what it means to file our complaint, what it means to stand on that complaint, and what it means to, in solidarity, across the globe, enforce the measures that we need enforced to protect us as a people, because it's obvious we can't depend, on these individuals to protect us. And there's one axiom that's understood, here, what do we call it? A maxim, as well, that speaks to the paramount duty of a government is to protect. But when that government fails to protect you all, it says the people then have the right to protect themselves. So over here, we can definitely show, as over there, that they failed, to protect. So it now falls on the people to understand what it means to take up that position of governing or being able, to protect themselves against an invasion. And if you can't, or if we can't use the lawful remedies and or measures that are available to be used, then that just means we have to override them, because then they become useless, right? They become figureheads. And I'm just saying, you all, we're not powerless. We're just not organized. And if we move out of our individual spaces and places and come to understand how to connect our hands across the water, across the bridge, and we come to understand what our interest is and what it is that we need to protect, and we also use the UN and the NATO and the World Court as far as filing our complaint formally, letting it be known. Right now, there's a petition going around, and some 1 million people have signed on to the petition. Well, that's not enough. Okay, we have to have more of that type of activity going on, and we need to show a international degree of solidarity that we can even get up and mobilize and move around and do the things that we need to do, from right here in the US to right there in Iran to right there in Gaza to all over the world, where people understand the corruption needs to stop. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it back over real quick, to Abu, if there's any measure of news that you would like to bring forth, because again, you may have talked about some things earlier today, sharing different news events, or even from last week, that I'm thinking my audience may not be, aware of. So I would appreciate it, even more if you can give us some insight into different things that you've been covering and different things that you think are important. And once again, guys, tap the screen. It doesn't cost you anything. Share the live, repost the live. And if you want to give, the gifts, do give them to my guest right now that is on the stage, Abu. And I would appreciate, that if you overlook me for the gifts today and you pass all the gifts, on to him. Abu, what else can you share with him?
Yes. I just want to comment on what you said first. I need everyone listening to me to be well aware of this fact that everything is connected. And what you hate about your governments is the same things that we hate about our occupation. We are fighting against the same system, the whole system that thrives on oppressing, suppressing other people, whether they are in the US or in our region here in the Middle East. Of course, it's all similar and it's all connected. And one day, all of you will be affected by their actions. And the earlier you realize this, the better for you to be ready to face what is coming. History taught us that nothing stays the same. And I think that with everything happening around us nowadays, we will be witnessing a new world order. We are definitely witnessing that happening, because there is a major shift coming, and a lot of things are going to change. So all of us need to be ready, and that's why we try everything we can to raise awareness. And I have, during my years of advocacy, I have been warning the American people in particular on the consequences of this constant blind support for the state of Israel, and that one day Israel will drag the US into a regional war, and it will endanger the lives of the American people, and it will keep sucking your money while there are millions of Americans who are homeless, displaced, don't have any place to go, don't have good medication or treatment. The Israelis take your money, they drag you into wars, and they have a better life than yours, which is definitely not fair. I think that if we want to call things as it is, Israel is the greatest enemy of the United States. And that's why it's in the best interest of all Americans to stand with us against this Zion entity. This is how everything is connected, guys. So, as a Palestinian, I am not your enemy. Your real enemy is the Zion entity, not me. I just wanted to clarify that and how it's all connected and how we should be working together into achieving our common goal, which is to cut ties completely with the Zion entity so that this world can become a better place. It's the first step in making America great, by the way, guys, because Israel is like the US has been using Israel as a justification to commit a lot of atrocities in this region. We need to end that. Once we get to that point, many things are going to change. As for any news you want me to share with you, I think what's significant for your viewers to realize is that the nature of the Zion entity and how lately they have been issuing statements against Turkey. Yes, you heard that right. They are attacking Turkey and the Turkish officials. They called Turkey as the new Iran, which means that once they are done with Iran, they are going to be creating another lie, a new lie about Turkey to justify attacking Turkey. And guess who they will be dragging into this? The United States of America, because they are cowards. They don't do anything by themselves. They always cry to the US administration to get help and allow them to do whatever they want to do. And now the Hakan Fidan, one of the Turkish senior officials, said that as well. He said that Israel is considering Turkey as a new target after they are done with Iran, which means that Israel is the type of countries that thrive on wars and they always need to create a new enemy. It's never going to be ending. Once they are done with one front, they move to another. They attacked Gaza first, then they attacked Lebanon, then they attacked Syria, then they attacked Yemen, then they attacked Iran. After Iran, they're gonna find a new target, and the circle will keep just going and going and going, and the region will always be in chaos, division, and destruction because of their actions. So this is why I think that you need, guys, you can check the internet on the statements that the Turkish officials have been criticizing loudly the state of Israel and how the Israeli officials keep threatening Turkey and the people of Turkey and how they are planning to make it their new target after Iran. I will think about more of the news that I have shared in the past few days, but let me say hi to my friend DGK. Salam, bro.
Habibi, salam, brother. How you doing? What's up? What's going on, 2K? I'm sorry I ran a little bit late.
No, you right on time. Let me say this here real quick, y'all. Tap the screen. I said don't cost you nothing, and I see you guys are still giving me gifts. I want you to today. I appreciate it all, but pass it on to Abu. that's on the stage, those gifts and things that you want to put off on me, I'm gonna ask that you forward them over to him, right now, and I'll let you know, for those guests that are coming up that I'd like for you to do that with. DJK, go ahead, man. Welcome.
What's going on, brother? So I'm just coming. So did you ask him a question, or are you just looking for an update of what's going on, just so I can stay on topic?
Yep, at this point, we're just letting folks know what's transpiring, the things that we've talked about, because I've been in a number of you all's lives, and I hear the different degree of information that you're able to put out that I'm realizing a larger part of my audience may not be aware of it. So I'm just asking you to rehash,
Yeah.
some things that you've talked about that you know to be important, that you think they would be hearing it for a first time.
All right, so I'm going to start with the USA, if that's okay. So I'm going to start with this. A lot of people believe, Americans believe that we can vote our way out of this issue. That is completely, it's incorrect, right? There is no voting our way out of the issues that we're dealing with here currently in the United States. Specifically, when we're talking about foreign policy, domestic policy, whatever the case may be, there is no voting our way out of it. I think that we actually need to take back the United States of America. I believe America has the potential to be great. I don't think it ever has been, to be quite honest with you, but I think it does have the potential to be great if we're all able to unite. One thing that I have noticed, right, and I speak on this quite a bit, is the Israeli lobby, the Zionist entity, really has done a great job at dividing the population, right, here in the United States. And then that's not to take away from what the US has done as well, because they divide as well. But really, they work in tandem with each other. They divide the population based off of party, based off of race, based off of class, based off of religion. Really, anything and everything that you can think of, they will divide the part. They will divide the population in order to keep us all fighting each other, debating each other on topics that really don't matter a lot of the times, right? A lot of things that don't really matter. And I'll give you one example, okay? And this does matter, don't get me wrong. But like, for instance, that tweet that Trump put out the other day, the Truth Social, with him depicting himself as Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. I started to think about it, and I'm like, this could have been intentional in order to keep us all debating about something like about his Truth Social, instead of focusing on Iran, or focusing on the EP files, or focusing on Pam Bondi's hearing that she was supposed to be having here soon. There's a plethora of things, right? So I just want to point that out is, guys, we cannot vote our way out of this. We have to force change. I honestly believe, and I don't want to say too much on the panel, but I do believe that it's time for some kind of a revolution. To be quite honest with you, I think that's the stage that we're in right now. Myself, 2K. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm 46 years old, brother. I've been in the United States pretty much my entire life. I was born in the United States. My parents were actually exiled out of Palestine in '67. And ever since the mid 90s, early 90s, I have been out here advocating for Palestine, trying to raise awareness about what what Israel is doing, all of their crimes, the apartheid regime, basically the brutal military occupation, the ongoing mowing of the lawn, right? Mowing of the lawn refers to when the Israeli army goes into, for instance, Gaza, right? When they go into Gaza, and they fly over Gaza every single year, and they just drop bombs over Gaza, trying to minimize the population and just kind of slaughter people willy-nilly, in order just to keep the population down and to keep people in fear, right? That's what their whole purpose is. So those of you in the chat, if you don't know about mowing the lawn, please look it up. It is a common practice. It is a systematic practice that they do and they use on Palestinians continuously, when there isn't a quote unquote ongoing war, right? What they call a war. So there's quite a few things, brother. So more recently, what we're seeing now is there's more reports of I refer to Israel, I'll be honest with you, as the Jewish state, if that's okay with you. That's how I always refer to it. let me know if you want me to change my verbiage. I absolutely will. I personally refer to it as the Jewish state because even I did live in Palestine and as an adult for a few years. And even growing up, going there, I've never been able to get out of my head, right? It's always the image of that star that is on their uniforms, that is on their tanks, that is on their Jeeps, that is on their missiles. That's literally, they plant it in every single checkpoint. And even as a child, they would literally beat me and my brother as we go to the corner store to get chocolate as a child, right? So I will never, ever, not refer to it as the Jewish state. It is the Jewish state. They call themselves the Jewish state, and that's what I will call it. And the world needs to know this. But what we're seeing more recently, brother, there's more reports, right, that verify everything that we're saying, that they actually have a system of essaying and graping Palestinians, right? So over the last few days, we're seeing human rights organizations coming out with more cases of systematic grape and essay on Palestinians. What they would do is they would grape the men, right? They would grape the women multiple times a day. They would also use dogs and broomsticks and batons and so on. And one thing that they do, right? So if they're graping, this is based on firsthand testimony from dozens of Palestinians, okay? That if they're graping you and you scream or you just holler or whatever, they will continue to even get somebody else to come in there and do that to you as well. So the more that you go against it or you even make a sound, they will grape you even more and more and more. This is systematic. This is systematic there. This is what they do. The Jewish state is the only state, right? The only people in the world that riot and protest for the right to grape Palestinians. Literally, they were caught on CCTV footage violating a man, graping him, sodomizing him with a broomstick on CCTV footage. They arrested, right, the 5 perpetrators. These are IDF security officials and so on. And then you see the population literally rioting and protesting, going down, beating down the doors of the jail to get these grapists out. Okay. Instead of shaming these guys, what they did, they made them national heroes. They put them all over the news stations, all over the TVs. Just a couple of weeks ago, they dismissed their court case. So this is what we as Palestinians have been dealing with for nearly a century. This is what the Lebanese have been dealing with for decades upon decades upon decades. And they continue to victimize themselves, with all the while being literally the aggressor and the oppressor, the victimizer, right? And based on all of our efforts within the last few years, alhamdulillah, thank God, we have been able to wake up the people of the world to see them for what they actually are. They are not the victims. They are the victimizers, right? They are the ones that continue to oppress people and do all of these horrible things. As we always say, every accusation that comes out of their mouth is actually a confession. Every accusation is a confession. Whatever they accuse Palestinians of doing, this is exactly what they are doing. And it has been proven true over and over again, brother. It has been true, becoming true over and over again. Now, I want to point something else out just real quick, and then we can kind of go back to Abu Siraj or anybody else. By the way, Resistance is Beautiful is also Palestinian, just a heads up. But, so what we're seeing in Lebanon right now is absolutely disgusting, right? So what they did in Gaza, okay, they're doing the same thing in Lebanon. They're doing the same exact things in Lebanon. At first, they are literally wiping out they're trying to wipe out existence. So when you look in the south, right, the south of Lebanon, more recently we saw on Apple Maps, they wiped out all of the villages, all of the names of the villages. It's basically an empty map. You don't see any homes in there. You don't see any hospitals. You don't see any infrastructure whatsoever. No names of any cities, no names of any villages or any of that. Why do they do this? They do this, right, so that way they can go in and occupy it, right, create military outposts, and literally claim it for themselves. They openly tell us that Lebanon belongs to them by some miracle because God promised it to them 3,000 years ago. Right. So today what I'm seeing is they're having a very hard time in Bint Jbeir, right? And they're having a very hard time trying to take that town from the Lebanese, from the south. The resistance there is giving them a hell of a time. They're resisting successfully, I will say. But what they did is they actually released a video today, right? And I want people to pay attention. And I can play the video if you want, but there's really no point to it. I'm going to explain it to you. And if you guys want to see it, I'll play it for you. What they did in Gaza in the hospitals is they created these fake these videos, right, where they're like, oh look, there's weapons here. They're using the hospital as a weapons cache, as a weapon storage facility, and they're launching from hospitals. So we have all the right, to bomb these hospitals. Today they did that same propaganda in Vintage Bed. They released a video of a room. It could have literally been my closet in my house. There was weapons there, and they're like, "Well, this is the hospital. This is Vintage Vale Hospital. Look, they're using it to hold weapons there." Basically, justifying and manufacturing consent to bomb hospitals. This is the people that we're dealing with. You know what I mean? So I know I've said a lot, brother. I'll mute for now, but I just want people to understand it is a rinse and repeat. It's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. The same tactics that they've done for nearly a century, they continue to rinse and repeat, and they tried it with the propaganda. But alhamdulillah, we were able to break that propaganda, and now the world sees them for what they are. We just need the people of the world to rise up and put an end to it, because the governments still support it. Not all, but many of the governments, specifically the United States of America, still supports this rogue nation, this genocidal nation that continues day in and day out oppressing people, starting wars with all of its neighbors and dragging us into it. I'll leave it there. I don't know, Resistance, if you want, or Abu Siraj, if you want to go. And again, I apologize for the monologue, 2K, but there's a lot, man, that needs to be said, brother.
Thank you, DGK.
Yeah, I think it needs to be expressed, and I think, as you said, and in fact, before you guys came up, I made the exact same statement that it's unfortunate that people think here in America that we can vote our way in and out, of this, and it's not going to work. And I'll say this again, you guys, if you have gifts, I want you to transfer those gifts to Abu. That's up at the top for me. I'd appreciate it if you guys tap the screen. I'm telling you, it doesn't cost you anything. Share the live, repost the live, because this information needs to be heard. This information needs to be out there. Okay. But yeah, I was saying the same thing, that we can't vote our way in or out, of this. And for those that are legislators and or senators, their job is to protect the interest of the government. And at any time they decide to move beyond that point, they will be rendered useless. And I've said so many times, whenever it comes to people needing help, and Abu, this was a discussion, on your live, and I'm always hearing people, saying these things take time. And I'm like, I don't think these things take time, because when it comes to us and we're stepping to a government and saying we need this, we need that, yeah, they say, oh, it takes time because it doesn't align with their interests. But whenever it's something that's impacting and or hindering them, they get it done right away. We don't hear, oh, these things take time when it's like that. So I don't think we should continue making those excuses, from the standpoint of, what government can and or can't do. What I think we have to really identify is there's a separate interest. And until we can identify, most people don't even know what the doggone interest of a government is. They pretend like they know, because no one wants to be portrayed as being ignorant. But the interest of the people and the interest of this thing called a government, you all, it's different. And for whatever reason, it's as if the people have abandoned their post and have allowed instrumentalities of the government to influence them, to let the government govern and or handle both the interest of the people and the interest of the government. How many times have you heard them say, oh, this is in the interest of the people? And I'm only telling you, that's a conflict of interest. So I use my platform to really speak about the need as to how we as people must redefine or define what our interest is, and then connect our hands, across the waters, and use these platforms to have a strong international network to where we can speak to these atrocities and where we can stand together in solidarity. Because I'm telling you, we're not powerless, we're just not organized. And they make sure they use every instrumentality of, that they have, their money, their prestige, and all these other things to make certain, that we can't connect. And I've said here in the US, they've just made it, public, that if you're someone such as myself having this conversation, then you're a threat. So if I'm a threat, they're saying I'm an enemy. And if I'm an enemy, there's no way I'm going to side with my oppressor and, have you all to, stand in support of them acting as if they want to go in and liberate, the Persians, like they have some love, for the Philistines. These things are inappropriate. They're unacceptable. And I will never use my platform, to uphold or cheer on what they're doing, because it's right here in the US, like it's over there in Iran, like it's over there in Palestine. And we have a common situation going on that we all need to stand in solidarity to stop it. Because the international, the UN, and these other NATO's and the United, the European Union, these guys really don't have any interest in stopping it. And unless we understand how to use, the force of the pen, because I'm a person that does believe the pen is mightier than the sword. We just haven't, we haven't thought how to collectively use it to form that or to file that formal complaint and then stand on it. And then we have something to act on. And I know a lot of folks say, oh, that don't mean nothing. And you all are ready to just grab your arms and, go, at it, with these people head on. And I'm just saying we have enough of that transpiring right now. And I don't think, DJ, as you expressed, like from the standpoint of revolution, I'm not interested in overthrowing, anyone's government. I realize if you ignore it, and if you're focused on self-determination, reclaiming autonomy, then there's a shift in focus and or power. So without the interest of people paying that attention to it, it can stand. So, we don't have to deal in rhetoric and things that speak, to that degree. We just have to get people to realize what they pay attention to and what they're actually supporting, and then come to understand there's nothing that say we have to support them or we have to be a part, of these administrations or whatever they have going on. There's no law keeping us to these things. At any time, people can restructure themselves. The issue is folks are too dependent and don't want to let go. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Resistance. And Resistance, what you want to add to the conversation? Thank you for coming up on to the panel. You guys, if you want to give gifts, give them to Abu. Tap the screen. It doesn't cost anything. Share the live, repost the live. Resistance, talk to me.
Hey, brother. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just listening to a lot of what you're saying. It's very powerful, and what DJK said. I guess I'll ask first, just out of respect to Abu Siraj, if he wanted to speak first before me.
It's okay, brother. Go ahead. I will
Sure. I saw you on mute. تفضل يعني. I saw you on mute. أنت روح أول, and then أنا بروح بعدك. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I just want to add one more point. DGK talked to you about how the Israelis are dealing with the Palestinian detainees and what they do to them. And it's not only torture and raping, but it's an actual unalivement. They are unaliving Palestinians inside the Israeli jails. Since October 7th till now, they unalived 89 Palestinian detainees inside the Israeli jails. So when they get to this point, and when you look that there is no accountability at all, you have to wonder what kind of democracy that the US always talks about in Israel, and what kind of system that we are dealing with. So 89 people were killed inside the Israeli jails, and no one is talking about them. While on the other side, when Saudi Arabia assassinated Jamal Khashoggi, a journalist in Turkey, the US administration kept talking about it, criticizing it, and attacking the Saudi government for doing so. But when it comes to the Israeli government, they can get away with anything, including unaliving Americans. The American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who got assassinated in the West Bank by an Israeli IDF soldier, he got away with it. Rachel Corrie, the Palestinian activist that was run by an Israeli bulldozer more than 20 years ago, no one was held accountable. And every time they unalive Palestinians or Americans, they get away with it. And there is no one American administration willing to call out the Israeli government for their actions and their crimes committed inside the Israeli jails. And I agree with you, brothers, regarding the points that you have mentioned. I said it before that you cannot have a change if you're gonna sit still in your comfort zone. The only way for you to make a change is by taking a risk, by taking a move, by doing something. This is actually what inspired October 7th and inspired our resistance to do something despite knowing the high cost that we will be paying. We have realized that the only way for a change is to do something really big, something abnormal, in order to attract attention to the cause, to remind everyone of what is happening in Palestine. And alhamdulillah, we were successful, because what happened on that day paved the way for an international wave of solidarity with the people of Palestine. It paved the way for people in the US to speak louder in criticizing the state of Israel, like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. Those people, they would have never had the courage to criticize the state of Israel without watching millions of Americans protesting in universities and millions of activists protesting around the globe. So when you think about it, if the Palestinian resistance did not do something like this, did not sacrifice something, then our cause would have been forgotten completely. Then we would have never witnessed such a change taking place. So I think that we all need to learn from what happened in Gaza, that if you want to make a change, you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to be willing to risk something for a better life for you and for the people surrounding you. And I would like to conclude this by saying this. If you don't do anything to bring about justice, one day you too will experience injustice. Thank you.
That is so true. And then I've seen a lot of people, feel as if it doesn't apply to them. As soon as something happened, then they want, everyone to pay attention to their need and come to their emergency. And what I'm saying is people have been trained somewhat to be reactionary. And, it's my aim and or goal to get individuals to understand what it means to be proactive. You all tap the screen. It doesn't cost anything. If you got your gifts, I'm going to ask you to give them to my guest, Abu. And I know for a number of...
Can you please bring up Amani? She's in the comments. She's also a Palestinian American. Amani's Corner.
And then 2K, you have to tell them also, brother, that they need to follow you. Chat, anybody that has came into this live from our end, please follow our brother 2K. He's very gracious. He's very kind. Follow him because he is extremely knowledgeable and he's willing to learn, and he's sharing his space with us to be able to educate his audience. So please do him that courtesy at the minimum. Follow him, please. Go ahead. Sorry, brother 2K.
Thank you, 2K.
Tell A-Money hit the invite button right there so I can see you. I can't see you, But if I could see you, yeah, I can bring you up, A Money, wherever you are out there. Do make a comment or something so I can see you. But I'm just trying to say, at this point too, you all, that uh, for those of you that are normally coming into my live, I want you all to just hang out while I have some special guests that I'm bringing up on the stage to give us some insight into what's transpiring, on the other side of the water that we're normally not privileged to have. So y'all just hang in there and just listen as we continue to drop this information. I still don't see A Money.
I think
So,
she's listening in right now. When she's available, she'll request up, brother.
okay, absolutely, no problem. All right, so Resistance, go ahead, man.
Hey, how's it going, brother? Thank you so much for having us. I did follow you just now. I appreciate you, sharing this space with us, giving us at least the opportunity to speak. Am I coming in clearly? Can you hear me clearly? Like as far as?
We can hear you loud and clear.
All right, very good. Sorry, just because I'm outdoors. So, I think it was very powerful what Abu Saraj said. I wholeheartedly believe this. I am a believer now, especially after everything that I've seen happen to my people, that violence is necessary. That the only way that we can get our freedom and our liberation is through violence. Nothing else. Like my people have tried the peaceful route, the protesting out on the streets, hunger strikes. Nothing works. The only language that this enemy understands, and by enemy I do include the United States. The United States, not the people, but the United States and Israel. The only language that they understand is that of the sword. And I wish it were not that way. And I'm sure, brother, like when you see, and everyone here in the chat, when you see how Iran is behaving and how it's actually like fighting back, and you find yourself cheering for them, maybe even on some level you do support violence in that way too, right? It's like, you wish it could be any other way. Lebanon tried, to reason with Israel. The West Bank tried to reason with Israel. Gaza tried to reason with Israel and with America. And look what it's gotten it, And so just hearing Abu Saraj talk about sacrifice, it really is like stopped me for a second. October 7th is I think going to be the greatest day in modern history. It'll take some time for people to finally realize it, but it is the day where people said goodbye to their mothers. These Hamas fighters said goodbye to their mothers. They went to the other side, and they knew that they had to do what they had to do for all of us, for themselves and for all of us, to finally see what our oppressor looks like. I'll end it with this, but Trump, when we hear Trump speak the way that he speaks, he's the true face of Clinton. He's the true face of Biden. Trump is the true face of Kamala Harris. Trump is the true face of the Democratic and Republican parties. And I know that hurts a lot of people, and eventually they'll come to the realization that it's true. Everyone arrives to it at some point. But Abu Saraj said it best. These people were willing to sacrifice. They sacrificed their lives, and we woke up to it. These institutions and these governments do not have our interest at heart, and Palestine exposed that.
I just add something to that real quick, if you don't mind, 2K, just very quickly. So yeah, I agree, to the points that Resistance made, right? And then specifically when he brought up the fact that we literally as Palestinians have tried everything, right? From diplomatic means, we've gone to the table, we've tried to the protests and so on and so forth. And I want to bring up one in particular, the 2018 March of Return, right? So in 2018, the Palestinians in Gaza, inside of Gaza, did a peaceful march, right? A protest. And they actually were inside of the camp, right? Inside of the open air prison, inside of the walls that the occupation has placed And they were protesting against the occupation, right? Against the blockade, the air, land, and sea blockade, and against the constant unaliving of Palestinians, like I spoke to you earlier about, even mowing of the lawn. And during that peaceful protest, by the way, right? There was over 270 Palestinians that were shot, right, from the wall. So you would have the Jewish army standing in their outpost while Palestinians were not attacking them. They weren't getting close to the wall. They were zero threat to them whatsoever, just for merely protesting against the oppression that has been imposed on them. Over 270 Palestinians were shot and killed, and over 1,000 were maimed. Over 1,000 were maimed, right, from snipers. So when we talk about we've tried all of these the diploma. So when we talk about we've tried all of these the diploma, they want to literally take unalive as many Palestinians as they possibly can in the shortest amount of time, right? So we've tried all of these things, and the end result is armed resistance. It's violence. Whatever was taken by force will be returned by force. That is the only option. When we see Hamas on October 7th, Al-Aqsa flood, right? Break through that prison break through that barrier and go in order to target 19 military bases, right? Their target was not to go and attack quote unquote civilians and so on, and women and children. Their target was literally the 19 military bases. Anybody can look this up. It is called Our Narrative, Al-Aqsa Flood. And it literally breaks down exactly what it was all about, what the intentions were, what the missions were. So their intention was to go into these military bases, capture IDF soldiers and security officials, bring them into Gaza, and trade them off for the tens of thousands of Palestinians that are being illegally detained in the torture dungeons of the Jewish state. That was the point, as well as gathering intelligence, right, that they could use in the future. This is the only thing that these people know, right? That's the only thing that they respond to. We've seen it before. We've been able to trade off one Israeli soldier for 1,000 Palestinians, right? So when people say, oh, well, they took 250 captives, right? POWs. Well, then why isn't the question, why is there over 10,000 Palestinians being held in these Israeli torture dungeons? Why doesn't anybody speak or know about the hundreds, if not thousands of children that are being held in these Israeli torture dungeons under administrative detention, not being charged with any crime, no trial, no nothing. They are literally being held in these torture dungeons and nobody speaks of it. But now, because of Al-Aqsa flood, of what you guys know as to be October 7th, now the world knows. Now the world knows what's happening to Palestinians, what's happening to these Palestinian children, these women, these men, these elderly, the disabled, how they target hospitals and medics and journalists. We see it over and over and over again. Literally, brother, it's absolutely insane that people want to talk to us about 250 captives, POW soldiers, by the way, but they don't ever speak about the tens of thousands of Palestinians being held in these torture dungeons. So I appreciate me being able to jump in with that, man. And you guys, just so for the chat, please, you can go fact check everything I said. I have no reason to lie or even embellish on anything. It's all factual. The facts are on my side. I don't need to lie. I don't need to fabricate information. The facts are on my side and the truth is on my side, and you can find it. So I'll go ahead and pass it to Ronnie if you want.
Okay. Let me say this again. You all, thank you all for coming, into the live tonight. I'm hosting a special panel and we're looking to talk about the things that impact us all with respect to the colonization and or the oppression that's going around the world in the name of democracy. Okay. And we have it happening right here in the US. We have it happening in Gaza. We have it happening in Iran. It's happening in so many different places, and it's going, I would say, unchecked. And, I can definitely empathize with you all that are frustrated, and you're saying, we need to pick up our arms and we need to go at it from that standpoint. But I do believe they create and or make most of those arms, and they're selling them. And I think where we lack is we don't have our skill of organizing down pat in the manner and or way that we can to show the true solidarity that we have from one region to another, from one state to another, and across the waters. And I think if we can show a strong sense in our ability to connect and communicate and do things in solidarity, in synchronicity, we can have a different type of effect, because the power is truly with the people. And we can have an impact basically by not participating in a number of things that they do, because we're being used as a commodity in a number of situations. And for a number of people, they're not even aware, of that. And for some, they don't care because they're receiving benefits, from it. And unfortunately, they're sick. Unfortunately, they're addicted, and they don't understand these things to that degree and or nature. And they're no use to me. It doesn't appear that they would be any use to you. But for those of us that do understand in truth, before we can go to any sense of a movement, we really do have to keep pushing this enlightenment so that people understand what the movement is all about. But it's paramount, that we cross hands, we cross aisles, and, we come up with concepts, and we come to understand what interest, we want to enforce on the world, enforce in the region, and come to let people know we have a right. It's called an unalienable right. That means no government, no head of state can grant it or take it away. So if we want to exercise self-determination and we want to deal, with autonomy or reclaiming autonomy, it really is in the manner and or way that we organize in, because this one is over here and that one is over there and another one is back there and another one is up there. We're divided. And this is the thing they know. So it does seem as if, a situation where we're not just grabbing our arms and, we're not, shooting projectiles, back and forth. It does make it seem like that's the only way, but we got to tighten up, on the sense of what it means to be organized. Go ahead. Hold on, Resistance. Before you go,
Yeah,
Resistance, hold. There's
sure.
Ronnie. Ronnie wanted to speak. Go ahead,
Hey,
Ronnie.
hey, 2K. I appreciate you having me up, brother. Abu Siraj, DJK, and Resistance are all brothers of mine. I talk to them on a relatively daily basis almost. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm an American citizen born and raised, Lebanese, Palestinian, and Christian. And the reason why I point out specifically that I'm Christian is because there are a lot of American Christians that are out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of Christians that are in your live right now that are in the United States that may or may not support Israel. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Christians in the US that do support Israel. So I always preface my religion and my background so people understand the context of where I'm coming from and why I personally, as well as a lot of people that are in my community, including my brothers on the panel and, our folks in the chat, I preface this because I need everyone to understand the treatment that Israel gives, not just to Muslims in the land of Palestine, as well as in the land of Lebanon and in Iran, but to Christians as well. And a lot of people think that this is a religious war between Jews and Muslims, and it's not the case, because Israel doesn't discriminate the people that they unalive and the people that they bomb. They attack churches. They unalive priests. Just a few weeks ago, a Catholic priest in southern Lebanon was unalived in an Israeli airstrike. Israel has destroyed churches, including bombing one of the oldest Greek Orthodox churches in the world in Gaza just a few months into the genocide that was that they've been committing for the past 2.5 years. During Easter and during Palm Sunday and Good Friday services, just over the past few weeks, they were prohibiting Christians, Palestinian Christians, from entering the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. A lot of the Israeli settlers in East Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank desecrate churches and spit on Christians and mistreat Christians in the Holy Land, both Palestinian Christians and Christians from abroad that are conducting a pilgrimage and visiting the Holy Land. And unfortunately, this is the way that the Israelis teach their children. It's rooted in this culture of dehumanizing both Muslims and Christians and pushes Jewish supremacy. So it's really important that me as a Christian, I advocate for all of my people, but also advocate especially for the Christians that are in the Middle East that are persecuted by no one else but the Israelis. So I thought I'd just point that out, and then we can have that conversation of specifically what Israel does to the Christians. But I know Abu Siraj also wants to chime in.
And guys, I want to thank you for coming into the live and to just speak to a little bit of what Ronnie said before you guys came on. I was making a point that the Israelis are a very sensitive people, but they do not really show any sensitivity to other people. And they also seem to think that they have a monopoly on the terminology anti-Semitic, and they can just throw it around and put it on, anyone that doesn't appear to agree with them. And they're not the only Semites and or Shemites in the world, but they want you to believe that, they're the kings, or, they're the ones that have right, when they appear to be very anti-Semitic and they need to be re-educated. And these are things, again, we need to have more forums and discussions on with respect to how they need to be re-educated and how people need to understand what the oppression is or what colonization is. Let me do this real quick before we go, because some folks don't understand when we talk about colonization or when we talk about decolonization, really what we're talking about. I just want to read a definition real quick, just on colonization, and then we'll go back to Abu and or resistance. But it says colonization is the process where a foreign power invades you all, settle you all, and establish control over a territory and its indigenous population. Come on, y'all. Often exploiting its resources, economy, and culture. It involves imposing the dominant power's language, culture, and political systems, frequently through violence and displacement. Okay? We clearly know who this fits as it pertains to the U.S. and as it pertains to the state of Israel, and how they would deny, they would lie, but they cheat and they steal. And they use these processes to move about oppressing different regions in the name of democracy, in the name of freedom. And we just have to continue calling out the lies. We have to continue writing down what these crimes are. And because again, I'm telling you, we can't depend on these other people, but we have to come to understand how to enforce or file that formal complaint within these institutions of a world court to the UN. And then if they don't, for us as a organized body and or people, then we can also expose them as being useless, ineffective. And again, I'm just telling you, and I know for a number of you it seems so far-fetched, but we have a right to organize and or look at how we want to be structured and or governed. I know it seems hard, but we can do it as a people if we have no other alternative, and we can use the resources that are available and make the UN stand on what they say as far as decolonization being a crime and how the resources have to be turned over to the people. So if they've written this stuff down, okay, we have to enforce it, because the heads of state are not going to enforce it. They're going to continue to overlook it. And in the name of what's called legitimacy, you all, legitimacy means what's proper, what's appropriate, and what's just. They're going to continue to use their means of media and rhetoric and propaganda to convince the world that, oh, this is what the people want us to do. We're doing this legitimately, meaning proper, appropriate, and just. And you all know we don't agree with nothing that they're doing. So we just have to have a better way that we're communicating and allowing our voice to be heard, and more importantly, how we're going to enforce these things. All right, go ahead, Abu.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just wanted to clarify that the type of colonialism that we are dealing with here in Palestine is settler colonialism, and in which they came and they decided to occupy, to build their own communities, and to stay in this land, and they have been doing that for a very long time. Now, I wanted to go back to Gaza, October 7th, and why it happened. I think it's important for everyone to listen to someone living in Gaza, such as myself, of why it happened and how we used to live in Gaza even before October 7th. Like, I'm not sure if you all know this, but there were Israeli settlements in Gaza till year 2005. There was 21 Israeli settlements in Gaza, and there was like a major group of them called Gush Katif settlements, in which the majority of the Israeli settlers were located in the south. So 21 Israeli settlements used to be in Gaza, and when they were in Gaza, they were spreading military checkpoints everywhere. I still remember them as I was a child back then. When we had to move from one area to another, you have to go through an Israeli checkpoint to pass a lot of security for their settlers. And they were implementing a system of apartheid in which the Israeli settlers had their own roads that we as Palestinians, we cannot use. We cannot go there when they are located there, and things like that. I don't want to dive into details, but I'm trying to give you a quick general idea about how the situation was in Gaza when we had the Israeli settlements. Then in 2005, something they call it as the disengagement of Gaza happened, in which the Israeli government decided to dismantle all of these settlements and ordered their settlers to get out of Gaza because of the resistance of the Palestinian people, because the people of Gaza never made them feel safe in these settlements. So they decided to leave it. Now, the Zios are claiming that Gaza has been free since then, that there was no occupation for Gaza. But what they fail to mention is that they continued control over all life aspects for the people of Gaza after the so-called disengagement, because they kept control over airspace and sea, in which Israel controls Gaza's airspace. There was no airport allowed to operate for the people of Gaza, and they kept control over territorial waters, limiting fishing zones and sea access. So how come you're saying disengagement if you still control all of these things? But not only that, they kept control over borders and movement, in which nothing gets in or gets out without the Israeli approval. They kept control over most crossings between Gaza and Israel. For example, the Erez crossing point. It regulates movement of people, import, export of goods as well. So in addition to that, they kept control over infrastructure and population registry. So you cannot have any kind of legal registry for any newborn in Gaza unless you deal with the Israeli authority. So the Gaza's population registry had to go through them as well, in addition to the electricity supply and some utilities. So when we talk about all of these things, what I'm trying to tell you, even though they got their settlements out of Gaza, they kept control over all aspects of our lives, in which they get to decide how much water we get, how much electricity we get, what type of goods we can bring into the Gaza Strip, and what things we cannot. With that being said, imagine to be living under such circumstances. And me describing the situation for you, that I know that you were thinking about a jail, because that's exactly how life in jail is.
Yeah.
We were living, and we're still living, in the largest open air prison. We call it as this. Gaza is the largest open air prison. And that's why when our fighters decided to breach into the borders, it was a cry for help. It was a wake-up call for everyone to remind the people of the atrocities committed in Gaza. I want to share only a short story with you guys. Back in 2008, I was only a child. I was getting out of school, heading home, walking with my friends, and out of a sudden, the Israeli occupation forces started bombing almost everywhere. It was the first Israeli large offensive targeting the people of Gaza. On that day, more than 1,000 people were killed, including 7 kids from my school. On that day, I realized that we live in a world that is not fair, that there is no justice. If me as a kid had to go through that while I watch building collapse around me and people being injured and unalived, and nothing happens, no accountability, no justice, no one was able to stop it, I realized that this is the kind of life that I will be living under the occupation. 2008 was the first large attack. 2012, something similar happened. 2014, a much larger attack took place. More than 2,000 Palestinians were unalived. 25% of the buildings in Gaza were destroyed. And yet, no one talked about it. No one held them accountable. No one talked about the suffering of the Palestinian people. 2021, 2023, and everything happened since then. They have been attacking us, unaliving us in thousands. But the only time the world paid attention to what's happening was on October 7th, and not because they care about the Palestinians, but because they cared about the Israeli lives that were taken on that day. But what about us? Why this kind of discrimination? Why do they have to always make us feel as if our lives are meaningless, has no value, but when it comes to them, a precious chosen people? It's definitely not fair. I'm only saying this, guys, for you to understand that they were trying to make our lives a living hell, and October 7th was just a normal reaction to the Israeli measures against my people that lasted for 8 decades. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, can I say
Alright.
something if it's okay?
Yeah, well, go ahead, Resistant.
Abu Siraj, that was beautiful. Thank you for that. And this is what I meant, 2K, right? Like that, yes, violence is the answer. This is the language that must be spoken to with this enemy, the sword. And even hearing his story, I'm sure a lot of you, and you too, 2K, you're thinking, I absolutely would not live like this. I would not be okay with this. And if any of you have any dignity, or any honor, which I assume the majority of you do, you should not accept to live like this for yourself or for your mother or for your wife or for your cousin or for your sister or for your son. When that happens, you must pick up the sword. Now, really quickly, and we can pass it on to other people to speak. I do want to clarify that in the US, it's a little bit different. In the US, you do have a few other options before you need to go that route. So when 2K was talking about organizing, right? 2K, you were like, we're kind of divided and we need to, we need to kind of come together, and maybe there are other parties we can form, right? Other policies, other ideologies. You know what I mean? We can put pressure on the Democrats, pressure on the Republicans. Maybe we prop up a third party. We still have some options. Whatever it is, we have some compared to what you're hearing, what they've gone through, I'll end it with this. There's as some of us may have heard, imperialism is the final stage of capitalism, right? Imperialism is the final stage of capitalism. And the final stage of imperialism is blood. So we have not reached there yet here in the US. We're inching towards it, but the people of Gaza have been in it for a long time. And I'm so glad they did what they did and they fought back.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in no way suggesting we create another party of any kind. I'm suggesting we turn our back on it. I'm suggesting, we form a separate sense of what it means to govern because we can. There's nothing that say we have to cast a ballot to continue maintaining European superiority. There's nothing, that says we have to subject ourselves to their policies, to their procedures. There's a senator, a former CIA agent named Ellison Slotkin, and she was on Bill Maher's show the other night, and she said something very profound, and I think it went over a lot of people's head, but I know exactly what she's talking about, and I'm going to do my best to continue talking about it, articulating it, and hopefully explaining it to where one day people really get it and we know the need to pivot. But she said, everything that you thought were rules and laws, she said it's nothing but a tradition. And this is why they have no respect for a so-called law, because they're functioning off of traditions. This is why the concept of an American government, or what they've created here in the United States, it's a house of cards. We're seeing it from the standpoint of this thing called an administrative government, the concept of a Republican form of government that so many people talk about, and the Constitution and those things. That died a long time ago. Benjamin Franklin was wise enough to say, when they asked, what type of government do we have? He said, a republic if you can keep it. Well, they lost it. And most folks are not willing to accept the fact that they lost it. So they're living in the shadow of something that does not exist. But Slotkin said it best. You all are living based on their traditions. They don't function off of any rule of law. They don't function off of any rules in general. It's just their traditions, their policies, their procedures. They function off of statutes and acts. These things have nothing to do with a ministerial duty that's centered around fixed principles. They don't function that way. So they don't, then that means we shouldn't continue to allow ourselves to be led within and or by their corruption. Turn your back. Come to do something else. And I'm not just somebody that's just sitting over here talking, about it. For those who understand me and have been with me for the past 30 years, they truly know what I'm involved in and what battles I take, and, to what degrees I'm in the courts, and, to what initiatives I'm actually pushing, and, to how I'm enforcing Fourth Amendment advocacy, decolonization, and truly doing what's necessary to get people to understand. But it's hard, because most folks, it's just a lot easier to just comply and just let one more day go by, and it's going to get better, and they're going to bring about peace. The board of peace that they're talking about, I'm just telling you, it's a piece of doo-doo. These folks will never, ever be able to bring peace in the world. All they do is cause chaos. All they do is cause corruption. All they do is lie. All they do is steal. All they do is hurt. All they do, our food is polluted, our water is polluted, our air polluted. Everything is corrupt because of their leadership. And I don't understand how long we're going to allow this to continue before we just say enough. And we don't have to fire a shot to say enough. We can just stop giving them our attention and our interest and turn our interest elsewhere. All right, I'm gonna open the panel back up.
Yeah, if I can, if you don't mind, brother, do you mind giving me the big screen? I just want to show a couple of things. If you don't mind, do you know how to do that? If not, no big deal.
I do not know how to do it. How do I do it?
Okay, so you click on my box and then you would hit expand. There's going to be a little box next, like when you click on my box, there's going to be a box that says expand.
All right, go ahead.
You see that? Okay, so I just want to show you a few things and just kind of give you guys a little bit of a background of the people that we as Palestinians and Lebanese are dealing with. Okay, and then I'm going to give you guys a couple of a little bit of background about it. So this here, guys, is Arwa Ali, right? 22-year-old Palestinian that he was actually held in the torture dungeons of the Jewish state. He was held in these torture dungeons. And we have people in the comments saying that, look at the barbarian Palestinians. Palestinians don't go around branding people, right? So the Jewish army actually branded a Palestinian with a Jewish star on his face prior to releasing him. This was in August of 2023, prior to October 7th. Prior to October 7th. This is the level of barbarity that we're dealing with, okay? So I want to show you another thing too as well. So here is, let me see here. So here's another one, right? So this is also a Palestinian. This is in April of 2025. His name is Mus'ab Qattawi. And he was actually being held in the Israeli torture dungeons. And then prior to his release, what did they do? They literally shaved the Star of David in his head, right? So I just want to point something out, and then afterwards, I want to kind of correlate and bring it all back together for you, okay? So this, not this, sorry. So here, what we have is, here we have, if you look in the bottom right there, this is the Jewish army, right? Etching and marking the grounds of Gaza. They plow, they leveled the place. And what do they do with their bulldozers? They go and they literally etch the Star of David in the soil of Gaza, okay? Now, today, what we saw, so this came out today, actually.
DJK, really quickly, what do they usually write in Hebrew? The only good Arab is a what?
Is a dead Arab.
You guys hear that? In Hebrew, it's written on our mosques that are burned down. They'll write it on our bodies. The only good Arab is a dead Arab.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. So here's another, right? Here's another instance, guys, right? So this was when Palestinians were being released. They get, they have the star all over them and so on and so forth. They want Palestinians to know, right, that we rule over you, right? We control every single aspect of your life. We will always, right? We will torture you. We will brutalize you. We will unalive you. We will kidnap your children. We'll rape your wives, your mothers, your sisters, your children. This is us. And we want you to know that it is us, the Jewish state, the leader of the Jews, Netanyahu, wants them to know that. And you even see it, right? You have this guy, Judean Lion, in the comments saying, yup. This guy is a Jewish Israeli, and he's confirming what I'm telling you. This is the barbarity that we're dealing with, okay? So today, this happened. This happened here. So in the West Bank, not even in Gaza, right? In the West Bank, so they had literally expelled about 50 to 60,000 Palestinians out of specific villages. Today, the women in the West Bank that were expelled were actually able to go back in and retrieve some of their things. As they were actually going through these checkpoints, look at her hand. They're literally numbering the women, the Palestinians. They're numbering them with basically so they can keep track of them as an ID. So they number them, they strip search them, they violate them. And where else have we seen this, guys? Where else have we seen this? So the same people that tell you never again, right? Never again are literally doing the same tactics that the Nazi Germans did to them, right? How ironic is it? How ironic is it? You literally become what you once hated. You become what you once hated, right? So the same tactics that were done onto them, they're doing to Palestinians, and even worse, because at least when they went through their Holocaust, they were fed, right, while they were being in these camps. Palestinians are being starved. They're kept on a calorie count, right? They're kept on a calorie count. And at the same time, they're literally sitting there and they're keeping the bodies of Palestinians. They will unalive your child. They will unalive your child and hold his body for years. Literally. This is, guys, chat, this is what Palestinians deal with on a daily basis. And you literally have Jewish Israelis in the comments confirming, saying, yup, and they're proud about this. They're proud of being the new and improved Nazis of our time. So I appreciate it, 2K. I really had to show because the visuals really hit differently. And yes, and absolutely bangs. They take our organs, they harvest our organs, skin banks, and so on and so forth. They do this shit consistently.
And
So thank you, brother. Go ahead.
thank you, DGK, for sharing this. And I would like to share with you more personal story, guys. It's the story of my cousin. Okay, so I talked to you about this Israeli settlements inside the Gaza Strip. And my aunt used to live next to one of those Israeli settlements. She had 2 sons and 3 daughters. One of their sons, in the middle of the night, the IDF stormed into their house. They kidnapped her son, her eldest son, and they kept him in jail for years. While her eldest son was in jail, they kept opening fire day and night toward their house to push my aunt and her kids out of the house. Her other son, Mahmoud, may his soul rest in peace, I want to share his story with you. He grew up in a house next to an Israeli settlement where every now and then they have to take cover because the Israelis are opening fire towards them. So when he grew up, he found his elder brother inside the Israeli jails and his mom always crying because her son is not with her. So he decided to join the Palestinian resistance. He got some basic training and he became a freedom fighter within the Etche group here in Gaza. One day he decided to carry out an attack on one of the military posts near Gaza. When his father knew about it, his father locked him in one of the rooms and didn't allow him to go out. His father felt it. He was saying goodbye to his mom, to his dad, to his siblings. His father felt that his son is about to do something, so he locked his son in one of the rooms. So my cousin Mahmoud decided to do what? He opened the window, he used the curtains as a rope, and he got out from the window, jumped, and went to carry out an operation against the Israeli occupation forces, and he got martyred. My cousin sacrificed his life because he realized that when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. He grew up next to a settlement. They were always terrorized by the Israeli occupation forces. His mom was truly suffering for the loss of his eldest son who was in jail because of the Israeli occupation forces, and he decided to do something and take a risk so that he can guarantee a better life for his family and for the future kids of Palestine. No kid should grow up in such a situation. And if you want freedom, there are sacrifices that need to be made. And if you want to witness a change, there are sacrifices that need to be made as well. And the Palestinians have taken the decision to do whatever it takes to see this one day, Palestine free from the river to the sea.
Thank you, Mr. Raj. 2K, can I share a couple of images on the big screen, if that's
One
okay?
second. Yeah, 1 second, guys. I just want to ask you to follow those that are up on the panel. This is a special panel that I've been working on, and still there's some others that I was hoping would be able to make it here, but maybe the next time. And I know you guys are pretty much used to, for those of you that normally come to the platform and getting up on the stage, but I'm asking you to hang out with me and listen to the stories of those that are in that region and have news and information that we're not getting from our usual media outlets. So I'm gonna ask you to follow them, and especially Abu, because Abu does a live every day, just about every day, and he's providing real good news resources based on what's happening there. If you want to be informed and if you want to have firsthand information from someone that is there. And again, I have to emphasize that right here in the US, they're trying to make it a crime, for us to have these conversations and or expressing, support for one another, in this manner. Real true. I don't know if they're calling it COINTELPRO 3.0 or what they're calling it, but for those of us in the US that dare have these conversations, they say we're a threat. Okay, but I do say this: I'll never side with the oppressor, and I'll never root for them to go out and act as if they're trying to bring liberation to somebody else in the name of democracy, at the same time, trying to, pilfer and or steal their resources. And I'm gonna ask you guys, all these gifts, I'm gonna ask you to give these gifts to my guest, Abu. I appreciate it, but my guest, Abu, is up at the top. If you will, shift all those gifts to him for me, please. I'd appreciate it. All right.
Can I just jump in real quick? Because your taps are kind of low, and I'll wait my turn as I get to the bottom of the panel. Y'all, there's like over 250 people in the room. He should at least be at 100K taps, y'all. Come on, we can all power tap to 100K. And if you haven't already, please share it to your stories and repost it. That'll help also boost out his page and bring him to the For You page.
Thank you, host.
Resistance, go back on mute, brother. And guys, I know Abu Siraj speaks perfect English and he's intelligent when he speaks, but the man is still in Gaza. Just want y'all to know that. Okay, thank you. I'll wait my turn.
Yeah, I appreciate that, A-Money. I could use that. I could use that more often, when I'm going live. So I do appreciate that. And again, I hope all these gifts that I'm seeing you all dropping, that you're dropping them to Abu. I don't want any gifts.
We also have Roseanne on the panel. She is also in Gaza. So both Abu Siraj and Roseanne, they're both in Gaza, surviving the ongoing genocide. And I see that everyone is supporting both of them. So we all appreciate you having them up on the panel.
Thank you, host.
Resistance. If you can put me on big screen 2K, I'd love to show just a couple of images. And the reason why I'm showing these images is really just to show the scale of Israel's damage against both Palestinians and Lebanese people. And not just what's been going on recently, but also what's been happening in the past. And to show that there's a lot of parallels the civilians of both countries. If you're able to expand my box similar to how you did with...
I will. Hold on 1 second. Again, looking at Abu and we got Roni that's up on the stage, guys. I'm just asking, I see a lot of gift giving. Hopefully you understand how to hit their box and give them those gifts. I know I made a mistake on Abu's live one time thinking I was giving gifts and, I was giving them to the wrong place. So, A-Money, can you help them understand how to...
Yeah, I got you. I can do that for you if you want. Oh, you got it, A-Money?
No, you could go ahead, DJK. Go ahead.
So 2K, just a heads up, brother. They're gonna gift you either way. So don't like, you know what I mean? But they are absolutely, they understand. So guys, we have Abu Saraj and Druzan, both are in Gaza. So if you click on Abu Siraj's box, just make sure you'll see all your gifts pop up. You'll see it says Abu Siraj in the top there. Pick whatever you want to do there, and then you click it. Now, let's say you want to send to Razan. You would have to click on her box and then do the same thing. Send whatever gift you'd like. Yeah, so if we can support them too, that would be amazing. Host, no matter how many times you say it, they still will gift you. Because why do they gift? Because it's a sense of appreciation also for you allowing us to be up here to speak. I know you don't want it, and that's not what you're here for, brother. But just, you know what I mean. Just take it, brother. We appreciate you tremendously.
Exactly,
We
and
do.
also it helps boost the live, and at the end of the day, that's how TikTok pushes the lives out. The more people send coins, not just to the panelists but to you, it helps boost the live out and gets the views up.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get you up, Roni. Roni was asking for the screen. Now that I know
I
how to do the screen. Hold on. I learned something today.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. So I just wanted to show. Oh, I don't know where it went. I wanted to is coming out of both Lebanon and Gaza, or just out of Lebanon and Palestine, to show the extent of the damage that Israel causes against the Palestinian and the Lebanese people. This doesn't look like a military target. This are civilian homes in southern Lebanon that Israel destroyed over the course of the past couple of weeks. We also have another view of another village in southern Lebanon that's been completely decimated by the Israeli military. And yet another one over here.
I'm
Even
sorry.
more.
I wanted to interrupt you. Host, could you please block Swaganova? Please. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. Go ahead,
Thank
Ronnie.
you. No, I appreciate it, A-Money. Yeah, so this is also more damage in southern Lebanon caused by the Israeli military. And not only are they causing all of this damage, but if you guys can see right in the bottom in the center, they're planting Israeli flags on Lebanese territory. All of this is part of their bigger goal of annexing Lebanese land so that they can expand and grow their territory and carry out their Greater Israel project. So they're planting their Israeli flags all throughout southern Lebanon, the way that they've done throughout the West Bank, the way that they've done during the genocide throughout Gaza, the way that they're doing in East Jerusalem, and throughout all of occupied Palestine. They're also doing the same thing in southern Lebanon as they're carrying out their ground invasion. And then I also wanted to show, a lot of people have heard about this. Last week, when Israel bombed Lebanon 160 times in a matter of 10 minutes, one of the attacks was on a funeral in a valley in eastern Lebanon, in which they unalived 10 civilians that were attending a funeral. Lebanese civilians at a funeral, mourning the death of somebody, unalived, and they have 10 more funerals to attend to. And just in case you think that this is unique, 4 years ago, a Palestinian American journalist, a Palestinian Christian American journalist with Al Jazeera, her name was Shireen Abu Akleh, was also sniped and unalived by the Israeli military for reporting while she was clearly wearing a press jacket. At her funeral, Israeli police forces stormed the funeral and attacked her family and brothers and Palestinians that were carrying her casket. They nearly dropped her casket because they stormed the funeral and attacked her. Not only are Palestinians and Lebanese people suffering in life, Israel also taunts and mocks them and terrorizes them in death. This is Israeli society for those who don't know. And it's time that Americans wake up to the truth. And I land my plane if you want to go
2K,
ahead.
can I just take it a few seconds from there, if you don't mind? Because I want to touch on the Greater Israel Project and how the Jewish Expansionist Project and how it relates to the war on Iran currently. So, they continue to say that Iran has, nuclear enrichment. They're weeks away from a nuclear weapon and so on. They want them to stop supporting its allies in the region, and so on and so forth. The only reason, and Israel has been trying to do this for about 30 years now. Netanyahu's been there in front of Congress for 30 years, pushing this narrative that Iran is weeks away, they're months away, and so on and so forth. It's because Iran is essentially the only one standing and being able to stop this expansionist project. They want to destabilize Iran. They want to disarm Iran. They want to financially cripple Iran. So that way, the allies in the region are pretty much have no support, and Israel can carry on with its Jewish expansionist project unchecked. Iran is essentially the only one that is really that is checking the Jewish state to the degree that what we're seeing. Although we have Hezbollah and Hamas, the resistance that are doing a phenomenal job. May God keep them strong, inshallah. Iran actually has different capabilities as we've seen, right? Their ballistic missiles capabilities, their hypersonic capabilities, and so on and so forth. So this is the reason, right? So Netanyahu finally found a president that's dumb enough to be able to go to war for him. And this is absolutely the reason, if not the biggest reasons, one of the biggest reasons. They want to be able to destabilize, disarm, really put in a puppet government, right? They were talking about putting in the Pahlavi, put in a puppet government that would be subservient to the Jewish state and to the Americans, so they can continue to carry out their Jewish expansionist project. And this is not something new. The IDF soldiers wear this badge on their uniforms, the Greater Israel Project. It shows, them taking Lebanon, all of Palestine, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, and even parts of Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry. And then, if you actually want to go back a little bit further, and by the way, Netanyahu is open about this at the UN. He brought a map at the UN, and he showed this. For those of you that don't know, just go look up the UN, Netanyahu, Greater Israel. But we can go back to even 1981 and this thing called the Yinon Plan, Yinon. This is the plan for the Zionist takeover of the Middle East. They basically want to balkanize the Middle East, separate it, keep everybody segmented. And then they want to establish dominance in the region in order to basically be the superpower in that region. Netanyahu has came out recently in the last week or so stating that basically our plan is to become the superpower in the region. This is literally exactly what they're doing. And this is why we have American soldiers coming back in flag draped coffins to serve the Jewish state and this Jewish expansionist project, brother. So I just want to point that out. I appreciate it. So Money has that on her screen. That's Netanyahu at the UN with the map of the basically what they're trying to do. So you see everything in green there. That's their expansion right there. They want to take all of that. They believe all of this was promised to them 3,000 years ago. They
And
literally believe all of this was
I
promised
have
to
a
them
question,
3,000 years ago.
DJK Money. When did Netanyahu show this to everybody at the UN? Do you guys remember the date?
I think it was a couple years ago, a few years ago. I'm not sure.
It was 3 days before October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, true. Yeah, that is true. And by the way, host and everyone listening, this is something that they do so effectively, right? Like you guys were talking about when I first joined. They do it so effectively by telling you, we promise the reason we're doing this is because we want to free the Iranian woman. We promise we're doing this because we want to cleanse the hospitals of military bases. And unfortunately, the American people fell for that shit and they paid for it. This is on our hands too. So if you're an American and you're watching this, just know that so far we've given Israel $350 billion. $350 billion, and that does not even include like weapons contracts and the relationships and how much, maybe if you can put a number to how much we've lost, maybe even morally how much we've lost. What has happened to our soul as a country? you know. So we have blood on our hands, and so if you're an American and you're wondering, okay, how does this relate to me? Well, if you just want to look at the monetary aspect, $350 billion of our money, is that what you want your money to go to? All of this that you're seeing here in front of you? And what they do is they infiltrate our churches, and then they tell us that this is godly. And then they infiltrate our politicians. They bought out 98 of our politicians, and then they tell you this is our greatest ally. And then if you push hard enough, they'll tell you, but Jesus was a Jew.
Hey, Money, do your thing, hey, Money.
Do my thing. Well, yeah, we're almost close to that 100K tap. So W the team that are in the room. So guys, keep continuing to tap and share. Host, if you just change your live goal, I know you don't want the gifts, but it helps your platform. It's what TikTok loves, right? And we got 241 shares. Let's get that up to 500. And if you have an option to repost live, please do so. And share it to your stories. That also helps boost his live. I just want to thank you, 2K, for actually highlighting Gazan Voices, because after 3 years on this app and after the election, we kind of lost that, right? October 7th, a lot of people like to complain about October 7th, but October 7th like literally woke up the whole world, right? Nobody knew about the other G-sides that were happening around the world, and Palestine did that. Palestine opened up the world to the G-side, and Sudan to the G-side, all over these other countries. And and that's what October 7th did. And a lot of the Zayos on the app are kind of mad about it, but it is what it is. But yeah, y'all
So,
continue to tap and share.
2K, do you know how to make her moderator? Do you have any moderators, 2K?
I don't, and I was just trying to figure out how to do that. And also,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say again, guys. I know you're giving me these gifts, but get a gift to Abu, get a gift to Roseanne that's on the panel. Don't forget about them. I need to see you showing some love to them as well. And I'm going to try to figure out how to make.
I can tell you real quick. So if you click her box, there's going to be 3 dots. When you click her box, you're going to see 3 dots right on the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, I don't have 3 dots.
No, so Money, isn't that right? So you click her box, and then you.
He would have to click
you're
her
gonna go
profile
back to.
picture, but it's
And then you
easier
click
if he just
disconnect.
let her type in the chat. Then he can click on her profile
Well, I think
picture.
he found it. He found it. He
Oh,
found
you
the
got
3
it?
dots.
Okay.
So then you're gonna make add as a moderator.
I did it. I got
Yeah, you
it.
did.
Okay,
I got it.
but so do you have the full mod,
Let me
Money,
see.
or no?
Let me
Yeah,
see.
she got it.
No, I don't have full mod.
Okay, so click on it again, brother. Hit the 3 dots, and then you're gonna scroll all the way down and click the options at the bottom as well. She will be able to protect your live that way as well. Anybody that's making comments that could be triggering the live or so on and so forth. So you're gonna want to click those other options. You see it?
Man is guessing more.
Yep, that's the one right there. That's the one, and then yep, that's pretty much it.
I
She
got
won't.
it.
A money won't bring anybody up unless she'll leave that up to you. But that way she can help you with the mod announcements and so on and so forth, brother. She's a great mod. So
Oh, I know. I've seen her. I've seen her at work, and I know what she do. So, do you have what you need now, A Money?
Yes, sir. I got it. Thank you. Thank you, DJK.
A Money, what are you gonna do, A Money? You gonna drop me, A Money? Yeah? You think you got the guts? A Money, do you got the guts? A
I
Money,
do have the
Wallah,
guts. I do have
show
the guts,
me. Show
but
me you have it.
hold
Show
on.
me. Wallah,
I
show
have
me
the
you got what
guts,
it's.
but
Show me. Wallahi,
I don't control other people's pen. I did not do that. I did not do that.
he
Hope
did it
you
to
would-
himself.
He
He
did do
did it to himself. He did it to himself.
He's so annoying.
We're gonna drop you. I'm telling you now. We're gonna.
That's one thing I don't do. I don't control host's panel, by the way. Yes, I'll ask to block someone from the chat, but that's about it.
So once again, guys, I want to tell you thank you for coming in. To the live. I do say tap the screen. It don't cost nothing. Today, I have a special panel, and I'm gonna be looking to do this panel more often, bringing up journalists and other people within the region that can actually report and tell you what's going on outside of the misleading information that we get from controlled media and fake news. It's ironic or funny to me that Donald Trump kind of coined the phrase fake news, and then he doggone turned around and became, the one who does the most fake news, ever right about now today. But we do need to have more conversations about what's going on around the world, especially pertaining these two individuals, these two nation states. And I do want to say this, they're Muppets, for real. They're being controlled, and there are people behind them that really have the money and that are doing the work. But nevertheless, they are part of the oppression. They are part of the colonizing, that is happening here in the U.S., is happening, in Gaza, it's being influenced in Iran, it's taking place in Haiti and in Cuba. There's so many places that's being affected by it. And I'm definitely here to say we have to use these platforms not only for our entertainment, but let's understand how to build bridges that we can function nationally, internationally, and we can stand in solidarity, and we understand how to move with a degree of synchronicity and let our voices be heard, and not through representatives, but we come to understand how to be the representatives and how to, put our complaint out and make it formal, and also to enforce it, because we can't depend on these people at the UN. We can't depend on the European Union. We can't depend on the United States government. We can't depend on none of these individuals that are interested in maintaining European superiority. It just doesn't work. So we have to have another way of communicating. And I think we should show the world that we're functioning, as a people separate from those that are at the helm of oppression, reclaim our autonomy, stand with self-determination, and shock the world, even more. I know it sounds far-fetched. I know it sounds, like a dream, but we have to become the change that we want to see. We have to then stand on principle. We have to not allow ourselves to be influenced and or follow their customs and their traditions. And that's hard for a lot of people because that's all you know. That's what you've been born into. But if you want to stop it, you have to stop participating. And I'll open the floor back up to the panel.
So there's two things that I'd like to say. Number one, to the chat, right? A Money is having on Friday at 7:30 Eastern time, two doctors that were sent on medical missions inside of Gaza that decided to go into Gaza on medical missions. They will be with us on the panel. We'll be there asking them questions. 2K, if you're available on this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we would love to have you there to either just listen, ask questions, engage in any way that you possibly would like to, because they're going to give us their testimonies, right? We've spoken to Dr. Sayed in the past. She's been on 2 medical missions inside of Gaza. The last time they actually refused her entry. And then A Money has another doctor that has gone on a medical mission. He will be there as well. The other point I wanted to say is, so guys, if you don't follow A Money, please do. You do not want to miss this live. And then one other thing is never stop asking questions. Always ask questions, right? So what they tell you here in the US is, in regards to the government, trust but verify. Trust but verify. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't trust the government, number one. So I ask questions nonstop on anything and everything, whether it's a brother of mine that's on a panel, and maybe it's something that they have spoken that might be misinformation. We ask questions so we can all learn together, right? We can all learn together. It is not about my ego. It's not about anybody's ego. We're here for facts over feelings, facts over ego, facts over misinformation. Do not ever let them intimidate you into thinking that if you are asking questions, they're going to label you as an anti-Semite or whatever they want to do. Do not allow them to intimidate you. Please, this is to the chat. Do not allow them to intimidate you. This is why we have been able to expose the Jewish state and the crimes that they are committing. And just because of all the questions everybody's been able to ask and we've been able to answer. 2K, thank you, brother. I really appreciate your platform, man. I appreciate you having me on as a guest, brother. And I hope to join again in the future.
Yeah, we got to do this more often. And A Money, with the guests that you bring up, you and I can communicate in the background and look at how to also circle back and, get them over here on this platform so that we can continue bringing awareness and letting folks know, just what's going on firsthand from people that are definitely dealing, in the experience. All right.
100%. 100%. I don't mind that, but yeah, these two doctors, I think one of them served twice in Gaza and then wasn't allowed back in, and then the other one, I haven't met him yet. She's bringing him on, so yeah, he'll be here. They'll both be here on Friday at 7:30. So it'll be a pleasure to have you up on the panel if you have any questions you would like to ask them, or yeah. So make sure you come through.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I will. You said that's next Thursday?
No, it's this Friday. The Friday coming up, 7:30.
This Friday coming up.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tune in, and that's 7 o'clock.
7:30 EST. I will make a register link in my bio so people can have the timing for their zone.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Okay, I think I got Abu back. I think he had dropped off. Okay. Abu, welcome back. I think I lost. Well, I don't think. I know I lost you. So we definitely been going since 9 o'clock. 9, 10, 11. Okay, that's just 2 hours. All right. Did you all want to at this point kind of bring it to a close and we look to pick it up again, or we can keep going? Because I'm normally, up, normally about 3-4 hours, but I
Yeah.
know it's a totally different time over there where you are, Abu. And
I just want to add one more point to share with you guys, is that a part of the reason why the US and Israel managed to continue doing what they are doing is hiding a lot of facts regarding the situation on the ground, especially regarding the losses that they have sustained by the Iranian attacks. Even now, as there are clashes in Lebanon, they are hiding the truth about how the Lebanese resistance is fighting bravely and pushing them back. And I just want to share this interesting information with you, especially for the American audience who are watching us. So, according to reports that after the major losses sustained by the aerial refueling fleet during operations related to the war on Iran, the U.S. Air Forces has reactivated several tanker planes that had previously been retired and placed in storage. For example, a Boeing KC-135 stratotanker that is 68 years old, originally manufactured in 1958, which is currently undergoing maintenance in preparation for a possible return to service. If they have to go to something old like this to use, it tells a lot about how much the Iranians were able to damage their refueling fleet and how much they have sustained losses on the ground. But of course, they're gonna hide it. They are not going to tell you about it. But we all have seen pictures showing the destruction and the damage caused to several American aircrafts and warplanes in different locations like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and in different areas. So when you hear something like this, you realize that Iran was able to hit them really hard, and that they are not winning this war. Yes, there are casualties among the Iranians, and there's a lot of destruction that took place in Iran. But it's a price, I think, that they are willing to pay for their dignity, for their freedom. Because, guys, you need to understand something about the people of this region. It's not all about well-being or money. It's all about dignity, freedom, justice, principles and values that we cherish and that we need in order to be able to survive. For us, life without dignity has no meaning, has no value. That's why someone like me living here in Gaza, I am willing to sacrifice my life for the sake of my cause, for the sake of my country. I am actually risking my life right now as I am speaking to you from Gaza, despite the fact that they might target me at any point, and they have done it so many times with other journalists or other activists who were trying to speak up to expose the Zio crimes and atrocities committed here in Gaza. I think that we all have this common obligation to do that, to help one another, to work collectively so that we can achieve what we want, which is peace for all and never again for all. Thank you.
All right, definitely. Go ahead.
Abu Siraj, okay? We lost everything here in Gaza except our dignity because, our dignity is the most expensive thing that we have. We are struggling for the last breath. We will not leave our land because, it's our land. We will never give up. So I want to appreciate everyone who's standing by us, by, your mental support that's, giving us the power to keep struggling. All respect for all of you. Really, I appreciate you, Allah.
Thank you. Anybody else wanted to give the floor before I go on?
I just want to thank you for sharing your space and your panel with us and giving us an opportunity to not only share the voices of Palestinian Americans in the West, but also the experiences of Palestinians that are living on the ground, surviving the ongoing G-side, especially for sharing all of this and the reality with a new and expanded audience. So we appreciate the space, and you're always welcome in our spaces, and we're hoping to continue working together so that we can just open the minds of everybody in America and abroad.
Yeah, it's important, that we continue to network, and it's important that we continue to build a bridge. I'll be a broken record for the most part to just keep saying we have to be even more effective off of this app and coming to understand the different things that are necessary so that people in general in oppressed areas can get the different resources and things that they need. And it's going to take a different type of strategy, and way of doing it. And I have a small team, that I'm working with, and we're working on some things. And I would just at some point like to share with you guys some of what those strategies are and see how we can collectively use them to create resources that we can, further, like what we're saying, resources. I'll just say it that way, to people that need it, to people who are in different areas and regions and will be able to affect or impact the situations. They're no different than, we're fighting to do it here in America. I do understand it's happening across the water, as well. So your fight is my fight is your fight. It's like we're dealing with the same subject, the same enemy from that standpoint. And I'll use the term enemy because that's what they consider me. They consider me an enemy. And for that, they say I'm a threat. And since I'm a threat, that means I'm an enemy. So in no way can I ever try to act as if I'm a friend. Now, I don't know really what I've done to be listed as an enemy. on their tablets or on their rolls. But in the end, I'm not going to fool myself or, look to have anyone else to think, oh, we just need to try and get along. No, we really do have to resolve and cut ties, with the atrocities. And we really do have to come to understand they're the ones that even invaded this land over here in the US. And a number of you act as if you've forgotten, that part. And, they're the ones, that are over here on a partial treaty. And I say partial, treaty because, they were only talking about, a set of 13 within colonies, and they overstepped their bounds and even went into something called manifest destiny. And all of this stuff is centered around more criminality. All of this stuff, is focused on, colonization, and you all are trying to act like it didn't happen, or that was so long ago, or those people are long gone and they're not here no more. Well, the benefactors, they're them being the progenitors, their offspring, are still here and continuing the corruption. And, I'm not one that just can sit back and act as if it's not happening. And especially when it's happening to me, and then I can see it happening, to others, in the world. I just think it's going to be real strong when we understand how to hold each other's hand and stand in solidarity, with this. So I'll take this opportunity, at this point to give any last words to you guys that's on the panel before we'll close this out, and we'll look to come back, and hopefully we can get Sammy Raza, the journalist, to come up. And I'd like to get Palestine engineer on here. And we just need to keep this thing going. That's all. So I'll open the stage up for any last words before we wrap it up today.
Inshallah, brother. I really would like to thank you and extend my respect to you and to your viewers and to everything you have been trying to do. I'm glad that we have met you, brother, and I think that we can do a lot of amazing things together, inshallah, in the future. So guys, please make sure that you follow me. I go live almost every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, where I share news, report on what's happening here in Gaza, in Lebanon, and regarding the negotiations with Iran. We talk about everything in details, inshallah. So make sure that you are following me. And also in my panel, I host families from Gaza. We try to help them as much as possible because they need the help, as you know. So follow me and follow the host, follow A Money and everyone on the panel. And I'm excited, inshallah, to join you, brother, next time, inshallah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got any last words before we let it go?
Last words. I just want to add in because I didn't get to speak on today, but a lot of people didn't know about what was going on in Palestine for such a long time. Even as a little girl protesting with my mother in Washington, nothing changed and nobody still talked about Palestine. And before 2023, people were getting pew-pewed for just throwing rocks. Children, like my cousin, who was only 16-year-old, they pew-pewed him in the head for throwing a rock at a tank that was in a neighborhood where they didn't belong. So I'm happy, finally, for once, our people get to have their voices heard. And I do want to say thank you for highlighting our voices and highlighting the people that are in Gaza, the Palestinians that are in Gaza that are essentially dying for us, Palestinians in the diaspora, to go back, and we do need unity, and not just with like certain groups. Everybody needs to unite for us to continue to move forward. So thank you for that.
Rosalind or Roni?
I want to say it's my honor for being here with you. Really, I respect you so much, dear brother. I respect everyone who are watching us now. Really, يعني, I can't find words, يعني, can describe how much I respect you, because you are listening to us, listening to our suffering, give us the opportunity to talk about our suffering, about situation here in Gaza. Alhamdulillah, we are so happy because we have you. You are amazing because you have amazing heart. Your heart is full of humanity. God protect you, dear brother, and give you all what you want, inshallah. You are so amazing.
Thank you. Roni?
Yeah, I just want to do a plug in really quickly for anyone in the viewers that would like to provide more help to the people in Gaza. Please check out A Money's account or my account. There is a link in both of our bios that takes you to an organization that was founded by and run by Palestinians, both on the ground in Gaza and in diaspora. A Money co-founded it. Abu Siraj sits on the board. They're both. It's called Clementina Foundation. They work really hard on, bringing food to the people that need it. They have a really good network of distributors that are on the ground. There's also an account, a Clementina account, that is on TikTok, and also if you go on their website, the social links are on the website as well, and they have a link at the very bottom where they post all the transparency. So they'll post all of the receipts and show videos as well on all the initiatives that they've been doing on the ground. So it's not just food, but they provide, when needed, medical assistance, in blankets, especially during the winter when the weather is colder and wet. They just do really, really great work on the ground. So try, if you guys are able to, support it financially, please visit the website, clementina.org. It's in my bio and A Money's bio.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to thank all of my guests that came up on the stage tonight. As I said, you all, this was different. Normally I'll let anyone come up and share their views, and then we deal with it, from that point. But tonight we were a little more specific, and we're going to spend time being a little more specific and focused on, those that are oppressing people around the world. Because if we don't, then it's just going to continue. And as long as we stay divided, that just gives them more strength. So we have to come up with the ideas and the plans and the strategies and the things that are necessary for us to overcome it. And if we don't, then we'll continue, to be suppressed and oppressed until some cataclysmic event take place, or some anomaly or something happen. But until then, we really do have to use the best of our wit to deal with this, and we have to look at what we're committed to. And we have to also understand what principles we're going to live by, because a number of people, based on the bad habits that we've been taught, especially in the US, we don't like to live, according to discipline and accountability. We like to talk about it, but we really don't want to stand on it, because most folks don't want nobody telling them, what to do. So in all truth, that makes you just as bad as them, because we can't have change if we continue to function, operate, talk, and act and do the things, that they do. But we can see the world is suffering in their hands. We can see as long as they rule the world, then the world will continue to fall, corrupt, and it's collapsing. And we can see it coming to an end. But the beautiful thing about that end, you all, the world don't stop. It just means a new mindset, will come into place. And prophetically, I understand and I know, they're just moving themselves to their end so that the righteous can lead. And with that, I just want to say thank you all. And until the next time, you all be safe. Abu, you get some rest. I know it's super, super early over there. And Roseanne, I know it's early, where you all are. So I appreciate you for coming up on the panel. We're locked in. I'll make sure I get you all a notice so we can really, really schedule and just keep this thing going. I love it. Appreciate you all. Good night, good morning, good evening.
Good night, everyone. Salam alaikum.
Good night. Thank you.